Well, to discuss this, I'm joined from Colombo by Jehan Perera. He's the Executive Director of the National Peace Council of Sri Lanka. And in London, we have Ravi Kumar. He's the Secretary General of the British Tamils Forum. Gentlemen, I'm really looking forward to this conversation. Jehan Perera, let me begin with you. There was an interesting line, a headline from the Sri Lanka Guardian, which said, "Mass graves everywhere, but where are the killers?" And it was basically referring to how unresolved the issue of justice is in the post-Civil War Sri Lankan political existence. Is it a situation where things are fundamentally unresolved in Sri Lanka right now?
Yes, you're right. It is. There is this problem of missing persons and unresolved political situation where the roots of the civil war have not been addressed as yet. The policies of reparations and truth-seeking are still to be implemented. On the positive side, however, the new government that came into power in 2015 has been moving in the direction of addressing these problems, but the progress has been very slow.
Right. Ravi Kumar, certainly. Yeah, allow me to bring in Ravi Kumar here because we're going to kind of separate out these issues and take them in bite-sized chunks, if you don't mind, over the next 15 minutes or so. Ravi Kumar, this coalition government that came in 2015, we've heard from Jehan that they've made some developments. Does that encourage you?
No, because even after a new government took over, the issues remain unresolved, and the political will on the part of the new government is not steady, and they are openly all the political leaders, including President and the Prime Minister, saying they are not going to bring the perpetrators from the security forces to justice. So this is a very clear message to the international community that they are not going to take the accountability issue seriously.
Jehan Perera, is that true, that there's a victor's justice at play here? If the Tamil Tigers did terrible things, they faced justice, but if the security forces didn't, well, that doesn't seem to find anybody who ends up in the dock or anywhere else.
That is true, that the government has been very reluctant to go after those who committed crimes during the war from the side of the military. But I suppose if you look at international experience, it takes time before the perpetrators on the winning side can be brought to justice. Sri Lanka is a democracy, and the government is dependent on the votes of the majority. And here, the ethnic majority, the army of the ethnic majority won the war. And it is very difficult. It was a very bitterly fought war, very divisive war. And it is difficult for the government now to turn around and say that the soldiers who won the war should be punished.
Mm-hmm. A really interesting point. Ravi Kumar, what do you make of that? This idea that Sri Lankans, particularly the Sinhalese majority, have long memories and deep scars. Maybe, many people had family members, for example, who might have been affected by Tamil Tiger terrorism, and they don't really have that sense of enthusiasm for trying their own soldiers from a war that they won. What do you make of that?
Yeah, Tamils in the island have been struggling for a long time, ever since the independence of Ceylon, the former Ceylon, now Sri Lanka. Last 70 years of their fight for their political rights has not been addressed, while every single government came to power are ignoring the rights of the Tamils. The structural issues are not addressed. Ever since the end of the war in 2009, the governments the international community proposed various resolutions. Now it is the 5th resolution, and the resolution brought to the UN Human Rights Council in 2015, reinstated in 2017 March. It has almost 25 commitments undertaken by the Sri Lankan government. Out of 25, none of them have been addressed fully or even partially. Mm-hmm. So that includes the victims of disappeared. We are continuously requesting the government on behalf of the victims to release the names of those who were arrested or surrendered during the last phase of the war. Whoever is arrested or whoever released, and whoever now remain in custody. So why the government cannot address this issue by releasing? Because the president already committed that he will request the security forces to release this list. Why the delay?
Okay, so Jehan, very directly then, is it clear that the government might be hiding potential war criminals and protecting potential war criminals?
I mean, I agree with everything that Ravi said. Then the problem is for us is how to get the government, how to get our society to move forward. The people that are considered to be war criminals, on the side the Tamils believe that they're war criminals, are also people whom the Sinhalese think are war heroes for having won the war, for having defeated a foe that the international community and we in Sri Lanka also thought was undefeatable. So a lot of atrocities took place on both sides. The Sinhalese feeling is that, well, the past has now happened, let's move to the future without looking too much into the past. But we have to look at the past too. We have to look at the past for the sake of justice to the Tamils who are victims, and also to ensure that the past does not recur. So yes, there are people who did terrible things who are not being exposed at this time. But as I said, if you look at other countries too, it takes time before a society matures and a society becomes strong enough to take on the government, those who acted on behalf of the state, who, in the minds of the majority of people, ensured the unity of the country which was going to be divided.
Ravi, let me give you a bit of a choice here. Let me ask you, if you only could choose one, which was either complete justice and those people who committed atrocities against Tamils facing justice, or the Sri Lankan government addressing some of the structural issues that you mentioned, for example, economically in the north and the east, pumping money into the region, developing the place, putting it into education, allowing for greater, perhaps, federalism and for greater autonomy amongst ethnic Tamils. Which one would you choose?
Without addressing the justice issue, there won't be any reconciliation. A real reconciliation and peace will remain, will be brought back by addressing the justice issue and identifying what are the issues, structural issues led to the conflict and so many death of lives. So that is one of the priority. We want peace, and we want every citizen to be treated equally, with enjoying all their rights. While this can happen only addressing the justice accountability issue, whereas what we see so far, even after 3 years coming to power, the new government cannot address the issues of low-hanging fruits, like releasing the land to the rightful owners, releasing the list of those who were arrested, And also, as it agreed to the international community and to the European Union during their GSP plus reinstatement, repeal and replace the Prevention of Terrorism Act. These are not happening.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay, so you mentioned them as low-hanging fruit. Let me ask Jehan. We have Ravi saying that the government can't even do the simplest stuff. So is it possible that both the Prime Minister and the President in this coalition just don't want to sift through all the ugly stuff? It's just not a priority for them right now. They won the war. They're trying to grow their economy. They're trying to develop their country. This is just not a priority to try and deal with all this sticky, ugly stuff from the past.
See, we must remember that the present government, the present president, who won the election in 2015, he did not get the vote, the majority of the ethnic majority's vote. The ethnic majority actually voted against him. He won the election because the ethnic minorities, the Tamils and the Muslims, voted almost unanimously in his favor. So this is a government which is not terribly strong among the Sinhalese majority. And in fact, they are facing elections on February 10th, which the former president is saying is a referendum on which way the country should go. The former president who won the war is very strong. He remains very popular. He's treated as a man who did what no one else could have dreamt would be done. So in that context, this government has done one very great thing.
But then was that his limit? I mean, Jehan, was that ultimately the ceiling that he hit? Because after that, if he doesn't have the support of the majority, there's nothing really he can do after that.
The present president is trying to get the support of the majority. And that is his challenge. So he has to, and the government has to take the majority along with it. That is why everything is slow. But it's not true that nothing is happening. Land is being given back. Constantly land is being given back. An office of missing persons has been established. The law has been passed in Parliament. The problem is that the commissioners have still to be appointed. So it's slow, but we are hopeful that in the next few weeks or months, that too will happen. Everything is going in the correct direction. It is going slow. And for the Tamil people who suffered, who are victims, they can't wait. I understand that they want results now. But things are going in the correct direction, and that's what makes me optimistic.
Ravi, are you satisfied by that? It's going in the right direction. It's not going as fast as you would like it to go, but it's happening.
It's not going in the right direction. It is going in the usual way the previous government handled this by dragging the issues out of the focus of international community. Even 2 days before, when the peaceful demonstration held outside the Sri Lankan High Commission in London, the defense attaché, Brigadier Priyanka Fernando, came out and he was filmed motioning death threats to the peaceful demonstrators. So this is a kind of threat that shows the outrageous or the death squads and the structure still remain intact to be used if in future. So how can the people in the Northeast have the confidence on the government or any other institutions, national institutions? So this is where the international community have to intervene and pressurize the government to undertake its commitments, deliver its commitment. But we are asking for a time-bound plan with benchmarks, clear time-bound plan with benchmarks of those all commitments, 25 commitments they have undertaken twice, not once. So the government is not coming out with a clear time-bound plan. This is where we are seeing that this is a process handled by the government, where the president, he encourages the security forces, as he is quoted by the media, that he won't bring any of the war heroes the justice process.
Okay, so let me then pose that to Jehan. So, Jehan, we have Ravi saying, A, the government is dragging its feet. B, they don't have any appetite to try anybody who might have committed atrocities. And C, using the example of the response to those protesters, he's not happy that there's still a condescension from the Sinhalese majority and maybe the political leaders, right? There's a condescension towards the Tamils. They feel that the Tamils don't have a case or don't have a voice and shouldn't say anything. Is any of that true in your opinion?
Well, I'm sorry that the defense attaché or the diplomat in London has come and issued death threats. That is not correct. He should not have done that. That is not the way the president and the prime minister speak. What is most significant about the last 3 years is that the culture of terror, of impunity, has gone away. And I would say that most people, including Tamils, would feel a sense of freedom and ability to speak freely, to travel, to move around, which was not there in the past. This government is not anti-Tamil. It is not anti-minority. It is not able to, at this time, deliver justice to the Tamils. But some of the government members, the army commander, for instance, has gone on record saying those who have committed crimes are not war heroes. Those are war criminals. He has said it. Now, the question is whether they can actually take these people who the majority of people think are war heroes to justice at this time. A government that still is trying to get the support of the majority of the ethnic majority. Whether it can do this at this time is doubtful. But there are other things. I agree. The low-hanging fruit must be obtained. And I'm hopeful that if the government does well at the forthcoming local government elections, which the opposition has said is a referendum, that there will be progress after that election.
Right.
The question is whether the government will indeed do that well.
Yep, interestingly put. Ravi, many people see tweaking or changing the constitution as a possible solution to the underlying issues where it's maybe stated more explicitly that minorities have a place in Sri Lankan society, that they are equal citizens. If this government ends up changing that constitution and putting in stronger wording into that constitution, would you see that as a good step forward?
Yeah, I want to go on record that the current president has openly said the war heroes won't be punished, won't be brought to justice. Second thing, the constitution reform process is going on. We are watching, and the process. This process has to be incorporated with all the transitional justice mechanisms in constitutional with constitutional amendments, and if a strong power sharing arrangement is brought and discussed, then the Tamil people have a say on how it would be. But so far, we haven't seen a strong power sharing arrangement in the last the draft release.
Okay, gentlemen, it's been great to get a deeper dive on the situation in Sri Lanka right now, particularly as it marks 70 years of independence. Lots of scars, long memories, a lot of people felt pain, and the country in the process of trying to move forward together. We'll be watching Sri Lanka very closely here on the Newsmakers, but for the moment, Jehan Perera and Ravi Kumar, I thank you very much for your time.